Hey guys, so I'm on my way to the casinos today. So far this week I've gone Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I feel like I've played well Monday and Wednesday, and both times I put out a vlog. So I'm just gonna keep putting out vlogs as long as I keep doing well, and hopefully I can get a streak going or something. Anyway, I remember there's this YouTube channel I used to watch. I forget the guy's name, but he's like, I don't know, he did like men's like style and fitness or something like that, and talk about like how to pick up girls or whatever it was. But he would often make videos where he interviewed himself, and it was like pretty hilarious, where he would be like asking himself questions, then answering them, and then in the comments people would joke about how this guy's interviewed himself. And I always thought it was funny. But I mean, I think I would enjoy doing an interview, and since that's not the case, I'm just gonna interview myself as well, which I feel like would be funny or entertaining, hopefully. No, because I was listening to this podcast, Poker Stories. So I've been listening to it while Ubering. So what I do is like, I'll just listen to it, and then when I pick someone up, I pause it. So, and then when I drop them off, I like resume, right? So I just listen to it in between rides. So I listened to Poker Stories, and they interviewed guys like, I don't know, like Sean Deeb, Scotty Nguyen, Dan Cates, past main event winners. I don't know, Barry Greenstein. Just guys that, somewhat accomplished in poker. I'm just interested to hear what they have to say and how they came up in poker. And, obviously I feel like I can relate to a lot of them. I've always felt, though, that if I was American, I would be a pretty successful poker player. I mean, in general, the game I used to grind was like the 10-20 at Bellagio, and I thought I did pretty well in it. It was 10-20 no limit hold'em at Bellagio, uncapped buy-in. I used to buy in around like 7K. And I thought I did well in it, and I mean, in Montreal, you can't really go above 2.5. And I was going to Vegas about 4 months of the year, doing well, but, expenses added up, and I wasn't, only playing there 3-4 months of the year. And then living in Montreal, and then eventually, I mean, I guess because I'm Canadian, I couldn't move to Vegas, but I guess I would have had to marry an American girl to move to Vegas. But yeah, I've always thought that if I was American, I could have been a successful poker player, or more successful than I am. But at this point, I don't really consider myself that successful when it comes to poker. But I don't know, I've essentially made like $50 an hour as a poker player living in Montreal. I've always thought that if I lived in Vegas, I could have been making like, $200 an hour maybe. And as time gone on, hopefully I would have moved up the stakes or whatever it was. But anyways, so I feel like if I was American, I would have been on that Poker Stories podcast too, and the guy could have been asking me questions. So anyways, I was listening to that poker podcast, and he always ends it with like a rapid fire thing. So I was listening to one of the guys answer the rapid fire, and then I thought to myself like, oh, I'd like to like answer all these rapid fire questions and like see what my answers are. So anyways, here's me doing the interview on the Poker Stories podcast with the rapid fire. And unfortunately, I'll have to interview myself, so here we go. Alright, so the first question for rapid fire is, what's the biggest pot you've won or lost? So the biggest pot I've won is probably in a 25-50 PLO game, but I don't remember what it was. But I know the biggest pot I've won in Hold'em, so I'll go with that. So the biggest pot I won in Hold'em was at 10-20 no limit Hold'em table at the Bellagio in Vegas. And I remember the hand, I had ace-9 of clubs, and it was against this guy that was a pretty big fish. And the board just ran out jack of clubs, 10 of clubs, 4 of hearts. And I think he bet and I called. And the turn came the queen of clubs. So now the board's, queen, jack 10, 4, queen with queen, jack 10 of clubs. But I have ace-9 of clubs, so I have the absolute nuts because I blocked the straight flush, right? I can't lose to a straight flush. I think he bet the turn again, and I raised, and he called. And then the river came the 7 of hearts. So the board's just jack 10, 4, queen 7 with the 3 clubs. So I have ace-9 clubs, absolute nuts. He checks the river. And I think my river bet was like 4,800. So I don't really remember how all the pot played out. But I'm pretty sure I bet like 4,800 on the river. And when he called, it was like a 16K pot. So he called, it was like a 16K pot. I flipped my hand, which is the nuts. And then he showed a jack 10 off. So he flopped top 2 pair. And then called my raise in the turn and just called me on the river, I guess, whatever. Just didn't believe me. But he was the kind of player that would just pay everyone off. So I was pretty happy with that hand. I remember too, earlier in that session, some guy had a similar spot against him, and the guy went all in for like 6K and he folded. And that was because I saw him fold to the all in, made me think, all right, I'm gonna bet big, but I won't bet all in. So I think on that river, I think I had like 6,500 or something, but I only bet 4,800 because I wanted, to get guaranteed a call. And yeah, it ended up being a 16K pot, and I think that's the biggest no limit hold'em pot I ever won. And there might be a few other 16K pots too, but that's one I definitely remember. All right, next question. Do you have any artistic talents? Actually, I took an art class. So I learned art class was like introduction to drawing. So I kind of learned how to draw. And then I do drawings like at home, just like black and white with like, the charcoal and stuff. And I try and do like one nice drawing a year, and then I frame it and put it up on my wall. So I have maybe 8 drawings that are like framed on my wall that people like. I mean, I often get compliments. Some people thought I bought some. I remember sometimes people came to my house and they saw them and thought like I bought them, and they didn't realize that I'd like done them myself. So they were impressed. So yeah, some people like my drawings. And yes, they definitely get some compliments. So I guess you could consider that an artistic talent. Next question. Best swap or piece? Actually, I've pretty much never swapped or bought pieces of anyone. Yeah, I've just never, it's not something I've done. I mean, maybe there's been times when me and my brother swapped a little bit in a tournament, but I know neither of us cashed. And yes, I've never received any payment from someone or had to pay out someone in terms of hitting a tourney score or receiving money from a tourney score. So yeah, I've never done that. Actually, I remember when I was younger though, whenever me and my friends did well in the tourney, like on PokerStars, we used to send each other money just as I guess just for fun. So I think there were some times where I did well in tourneys and sent a friend $100 or $200. And I remember my friend, he got third in the Sunday Million for 100K. I think he sent me $500 just, for being there watching and just celebrate. I guess he just transferred me $500 on my account. So I remember that was pretty nice. Largest non-poker wager. Yeah, it's probably when I bet almost 11K. I think it was 10,700 on Anthony Joshua to beat Vladimir Klitschko money line. So I think it was 10,700, and I think I won like 4,600. So it was about minus 230 or something like that. And I was very confident in my bet, and I won. So that was pretty good. Celebrity crush growing up. I've had a bunch of celebrity crushes growing up for sure. One that always, maybe my first one then was probably Cameron Diaz. I remember, watching The Mask. Remember there's that scene where she walks into the bank and the camera zooms in on her starting from her feet and slowly goes up to her face and just reveals how beautiful she is. And yeah, I remember thinking she was so beautiful that whole movie, and probably was 10 years old or something. Yeah, I remember I got a huge crush on Cameron Diaz. And then I remember after that too, whenever she was in movies and I saw her, I would always get excited because I had a pretty big crush on Cameron Diaz. So yeah, that's probably the one that stands out. If you could download one skill in the Matrix, what would it be? I think it'd be cool to jump really high because I've always wanted to dunk a basketball and I've never been able to. I'm 6'1" though, so if I was playing basketball and I was able to jump and dunk a basketball, it wouldn't be that unreasonable, right? I'm sure there's lots of guys who are 6'1" who are really fit and can jump really high, and you see them dunk. So yeah, if I could dunk, it would be pretty cool, and it wouldn't look. Maybe people wouldn't even realize that I got my skill from the Matrix or that I cheated, right? Maybe it would look real. So yeah, how about dunking a basketball? That'd be pretty good. Or jumping really high, let's say. That'd be a pretty cool skill. Worst job before poker. I had a few jobs before poker. I worked until I was 18. I think I worked from 16 to 18, and then I played poker full time, or poker part time while I was in school, and then I played poker full time. So yeah, so I didn't, from 19 until 35, I was playing poker, only poker, and didn't have a job. So I worked at a warehouse lifting boxes. I worked at the Metro grocery store bagging groceries. I worked at McDonald's for 8 months. job. But I enjoyed all my jobs. There's no job that I thought was bad. I kind of liked working at McDonald's too. I didn't find it that bad. I was like a cashier and whatever. It was all just interesting to me. So I can't really think of a bad job that I've had. I'm trying to think what other jobs I had. Oh yeah, I remember I had a job too, like telemarketing. Yeah, so I had a few just like random jobs. None of them, I don't really think any of them are bad though. I feel like for all of them, I found a way to enjoy myself. If not for poker, what would you be doing? Well, I mean, right now I'm Ubering on the side, but that's not really like the job I want. If it wasn't for poker, it's just something that it's more kind of like a hobby, and I guess it's like a part-time job, but I don't really plan on doing it for long. But when I was in school, when I was in university, I was looking to become a police officer. And then I took courses in criminology and all of that, and I was looking to become a police officer, so that would be the job I would have done if it wasn't for poker. When I finished university, I took a year off to play poker, and I did pretty well, and then I just, was playing poker full-time for the next 12 years, so. But yeah, I mean, there definitely is part of me that would still like to be a police officer, so who knows, maybe I'll go do that someday when I've had enough of poker, or whatever. I guess poker / at this point it's poker and Uber, so once I've had enough of that, yeah, maybe hopefully I can become a police officer. That'd be cool. 1 second. Let me just merge here before I look back down. Let's see, what's the next question? Headphones on at the poker table, yes or no? Well, yeah, I actually never wear headphones. I've always found headphones really annoying. That's like one of those things where I find headphones really annoying, and I'm kind of surprised more people don't agree with me. I just find it really weird to have something on your ears. I find it weird to wear headphones at the gym because you're sweating. I don't know, I just find headphones really annoying. And at poker table too, I would find them annoying because you can't hear what's going on, right? So yeah, I mean, for me it's no. And yeah, I guess it would be better if no one wore headphones, right? Because then everyone would just be forced to interact more, and it would just, I don't know, I guess it would just make everything more interesting if no one had headphones. If you could pick the Super Bowl halftime show, what would you pick? Actually, pretty recently they had Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg. I thought that was a pretty awesome halftime show, so I feel like my pick is already gone. If I could pick something else, how about Tupac hologram? I think that would be a good halftime show. There you go. All right, give me a second here before I can check the next question. Underrated food combinations. Lately I've been putting I'll just take a banana and put some peanut butter on it and just eat a banana with dipped in peanut butter or whatever. Banana dipped in peanut butter, essentially. I find that's a pretty good combination. And I feel like it's somewhat healthy, right? Celebrity doppelganger growing up. Oh yeah, I remember when I was a teenager, people used to always tell me, or a lot of random people or whatever would tell me, I looked like Nathan from One Tree Hill. Yeah, kind of random, but yeah, I remember that show was pretty popular when I was a kid and when I was a teenager, and I remember girls used to tell me that, or random people would just tell me, oh, you look like Nathan from One Tree Hill. Next question, are you superstitious? Yeah, I definitely am a little bit. Actually, one superstition I have is whenever I'm playing poker, live especially, I feel like I need to be wearing shoes that I consider lucky shoes. So I'm either wearing Versace sneakers, which I'm wearing right now, or I'll wear my Gucci loafers, or I'll wear Versace flip-flops. And I always have two for Vegas. I have my Vegas only shoes, which are shoes I only wear when I'm in Vegas. So for a while they were the white Air Force Ones, and now the shoes that I only wear in Vegas are a nice pair of Jordan 10s that are white and black and look really clean and cool. Do you have any phobias? I mean, I definitely have a fear of heights, but it's kind of an interesting one because I don't mind doing something like skydiving or bungee jumping or whatever. I did bungee jump off the stratosphere, but in those situations it's a controlled environment, I feel because I'm trusting somebody else, right? I'm trusting the people who are putting on the harness, or if it would, I mean, I've never done skydiving, but I'd be open to doing it, and I know in there you they strap you to a professional who knows what they're doing. So those I'd be willing to do, but it's like I'm like scared to like be up high like on a balcony, let's say, because then I'm just like I could just like fall off like for whatever reason, right? So like I won't go on like a balcony if it's like above like the 3rd floor of a building. So like if there was a balcony on the 10th floor, I would like never go on it, right? So yeah, I definitely have a fear of heights. Next question. Do you collect anything? Well, I would like to have a collection of Cadillacs, but I can't really afford that right now. But yeah, my dream would be to have like a big like garage. My dream is always, or like my dream now, I guess, would be to have like a big like garage / like kind of like a showroom where I would have like a bunch of Cadillacs in there, and then I would also have my desk to play online poker. So I'd be like playing online poker, and then I would have my in the big room, in a big like showroom with a bunch of Cadillacs that I collected. Yeah, that'd be cool. For something I collect now, I guess I can't really think of anything. But when I was younger, I used to collect a bunch of Versace. I still have all those Versace things. I have a bunch of Versace sunglasses, Versace shoes, Versace belt, Versace shirts, pants. Yeah, I have a lot of Versace, so let's go with Versace. The most beautiful place you've seen in person? I'm not really sure. I mean, I went to the Grand Canyon, but I didn't think it was that amazing or that beautiful. I like actually, I always like going to the beach in Maine, and I feel like whenever I do, and you look at the ocean and the waves and everything, it is really beautiful. So I'll say the beach in Maine, even though I don't know how many people would consider that a really beautiful place that you need to visit, but yeah, for me that's really beautiful. 1 second. All right, next question. Travel bucket list. I mean, I have a few places I'd like to go at some point, but I'm not really in any rush. But I would definitely like to visit Egypt, Israel, Dubai. I've never been to Texas, so I'd like to go to Texas. I'd like to do like a road trip across the U.S., like drive from like maybe New York City to all the way to California, let's say New York to L.A., and I guess drive through Texas and all that. So, but yeah, what I say: Egypt, Israel, Dubai, Texas. All right, those 4. Do you like telling people you're a professional poker player? So for 12 years, I was a full-time poker player, and I was always proud to tell people that. I love just telling people like, yeah, I'm a professional poker player. I remember too, like I'd be playing live, and I knew guys that were professional poker players that would like try and like keep it a secret. So they would be, I don't know if they were embarrassed or they didn't want the fish to think to beware of them or whatever it was, and they used to make up things like, oh, I do investments or I'm this or I'm that, and they wouldn't admit they were professional poker players. But I was always pretty proud to say I was. And then I also remember too, when I was like single and dating, and I used to tell girls I was a professional poker player, I was always pretty proud of that too. And I remember the reactions were pretty interesting. Often, in Vegas, girls often loved hearing that. If you were in Vegas and you told a girl that, they usually seemed impressed. In Montreal, it was kind of 50-50. Some girls seemed interested and excited. Some girls seemed turned off pretty quickly. So I guess it depended. You had a lot of different reactions. Any near-death experiences? Nothing that I could think of. But, just recently, I was with my wife and the kids, and we were doing an RV trip in driving from Montreal to New Brunswick. And we got on some weird road in like the middle of the night. I think it's called like the East 108 road. I think that was it, the 108 East in like New Brunswick. And it was just this terrible road. And there was no internet connection. There was like no lights. The road was like super bumpy, so it was like a 2-way road, but you had to like drive in the middle of it because like there's so many potholes, and it was like terrible. And then you were also like stuck on the road for like 2 hours, and like the speed limit was like 80 kilometers an hour, but you could only drive like 40 because the road was essentially like so dangerous. So it was like a really bad time. And me and my wife it was pretty unenjoyable. My wife and I were kind of scared, and we were kind of worried what was going to happen if like we crashed or if the car broke down and the road was so bad. And we kept seeing like, how much time do we have left on this road? And we had like an hour and 40-minute timer at some point or something. But so as we were driving, we're driving down the road, and then there was like a huge moose just like in front of us as we were driving. I saw the moose, and like I guess we were far away, but it just looked huge. And it honestly it looked like almost like an illusion, because like, I don't know if you've ever seen a moose, but they're just massive. I remember I looked it up afterwards. I think moose can weigh up to like 1,800 pounds. So you can imagine how big they are. I don't know, so we saw the moose. I was driving, I saw the moose. I didn't know if my wife saw it, but then obviously she did when she yelled out like, "Oh my God." And then the moose was just like in the middle of the road. It was like pretty much taking up 2 lanes because it was massive. And it just kind of stood and like looked at us. And I had like this thought in my head, like, damn, this thing's not gonna move. And I was like slowing down, and I was thinking like, what's gonna happen? So it's just gonna be like us there in our big RV. We'll obviously keep the doors locked, and we're just gonna be like, I'm face to face with the moose, and we just have to like wait for him to leave. Like, are we gonna honk? Like, what's gonna happen? So I thought we were gonna have like some confrontation with a moose, and I thought maybe he was gonna attack our car or something. I didn't know. And it was so massive. But anyways, we just like slowed down, and as we kind of approached, got closer to it, it just walked away and just crossed the road and walked into the woods and left. But my wife was pretty scared after that, and she couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe how big it was. Me too. I couldn't believe how big that moose was. That was pretty scary. Favorite toy as a child? I mean, I used to play with a lot of action figures. I don't know what actually I always loved playing Monopoly. Does Monopoly count as a toy? So I'll just say Monopoly. I think as a kid, I used to play a ton of Monopoly, so I'll say Monopoly. Alright, that's all for the rapid fire questions. I hope you guys enjoyed that or were entertained. Just whatever, chilling here on my casino, stuck in traffic. Trying to think of anything I want to say. I mean, I guess going forward, I'll just keep doing these vlogs where I just, show myself driving to the casino. If you guys enjoy watching them. I don't know if it calms me down or what, but I feel like I've been playing well lately. And yeah, my goal is just go there, play, hopefully play 6 hours or more maybe. Enjoy myself, relax, and yeah, just try and play well for one session. Hope everything goes well. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to talk about. There's a few cool boxing fights tomorrow. Usyk versus Dubois should be exciting. I feel like I should bet on that, but I won't. I mean, I guess if I had to bet, I would bet Usyk money line. The other bets you could bet would be Usyk by decision, or I could look into what the over-under is. But yeah, I think Usyk money line is the bet to make if you're going to bet on it, but I won't bet on it. And the other fight is Pacquiao versus, I don't even know, but he's 46 years old and they're giving him a title shot. So that'd be interesting. I'll watch that too, but I don't know. I kind of have a feeling Pacquiao's just going to look pretty shitty. I don't know. I also don't really like watching like my favorite fighters when they're just like really old, way past their prime. I mean, I don't know, watching that Tyson versus Jake Paul thing was pretty ridiculous, and I feel like they're constantly just watching these fighters who like used to be great and now they're in their 40s and they're like still fighting, so I don't really want to watch that. But yeah, I mean, I guess it's Pacquiao, so I'll tune in, but I hope he doesn't get too hurt or anything. I guess that's all for today. Alright, I'll just let the video play. Hope you guys enjoy the vlog. And yeah, I hope everyone has a good weekend. Alright, that's all. Bye, everyone.